Hey guys, and welcome to another video tutorial. Today we're going to be starting chapter 2, which is titled Integers and Rational Numbers. And the first section here, 2.1, is all about integers. Maybe you haven't heard about integers before, but I think you'll get the hang of them here as we go through some of the different examples. Today, what you're trying to learn is to compare and order integers and to determine absolute value. Okay, I'm guessing you've maybe seen absolute value before, but it's definitely related to integers. Okay, please don't forget to put your name and the date up at the top of your note sheet, and let's move on. A few of the vocab words today. I know you have a fourth listed, and we'll get there in just a second. We'll start with the opposite. So the opposite of a number is the same distance from 0 on a number line as the original number, but on the other side of 0. And 0 is its own opposite. That might be a little bit confusing, but basically it's the same distance away from 0. Okay, so write that on your sheet there. Here's what it kind of looks like. 4 and -4 are opposites because they're the same distance away from 0. Okay, how far is 4 from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots away. And same with -4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots away. They're both 4 away from 0. Okay. Anything now to the left of 0 on the number line is going to be a negative number or a negative integer. And anything to the right then is positive. If you take a quick glance at the front of the room, you'll also see that I have a number line up there that's kind of similar, except it goes to 20. Again, 0 isn't positive or negative. It's kind of like in science where you have positive protons, negative electrons, and then neutrons are neither positive nor negative. Okay, so we've been saying this word integers quite a bit. What is an integer? Integers are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. By using integers, you can express elevations above and below sea level. Okay. Even at sea level. Sea level has an elevation of 0. One that I'm thinking of is like, if you've ever watched a Denver Bronco game, they play at Mile High Stadium. It's 5,000 feet above sea level there. Obviously, the closer you get to the Rockies, the higher you go, right? Your elevation really increases. Okay. So remember, the whole numbers are the counting numbers and 0. So these would be considered whole numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now integers are those and their negatives. So like -1, -2, -3, so on and so forth, and these whole numbers included. Okay, so integers are whole numbers plus their negatives. Okay, here is our first example, and this one should match up with your example on your piece of paper as well. It says graph the integer -7 and its opposite on a number line. Okay, so if we were to draw a number line, you have to go up to 7, and make sure when you're drawing your number line, the first one to the left would be -1. Sometimes it can be tricky. Some students will start with -7 and then count down here. Make sure it's 1 away from 0, so it's -1. All you need to do when you plot it is put 2 dots on your sheet of paper. Put a dot at -7 and at +7. And so the opposite of -7 would be +7, because again, it's the same distance away from 0. Okay, if you flip to the back, this is the check it out on the back. It says graph the integer -5 and its opposite on a number line. So start by drawing your number line. Sometimes you have to draw a number line on your homework. Okay, so this one goes from -7 to 0 to +7 again. So graph -5. Okay, and the opposite of -5 would be +5. They're both 5 away from 0. Okay, next it says you can compare and order integers by graphing them on a number line. Integers increase in value as you move to the right along the number line, and they decrease in value as you move to the left. Okay, so the further right you go, okay, the bigger the number. And the further left you go, the smaller. Might be helpful to write this somewhere on your sheet. Okay, it can kind of get tricky when you're comparing two negative numbers. So we'll see some examples on this. Might make a little bit more sense for you. Okay, so it says compare the integers using less than or greater than. Flip back to the front of your sheet here. Okay, first off, I think it's helpful to plot them on a number line. So if you plot -4 and you plot +4, you can see where they are on a number line. Okay, 4 is farther to the right than -4. Okay, so whichever number is farther to the right, in this case, it's 4. Okay, the numbers further to the right are greater than numbers further to the left. Okay, and don't forget when you're making your sign here that Pac-Man, or maybe you learn the alligator, eats the bigger number. So you're just pretending that this is the mouth eating the bigger number. So 4 is greater than -4. Okay, hopefully you found the blanks that you needed to fill in on your sheet. Here it is again, just a little reminder. The symbol means is less than, and the symbol opposite of that means is greater than. The other way that I can kind of remember is if you take this symbol and you tilt it a little bit, it looks like an L for less than. Okay, obviously that doesn't work here. That'd be a backwards L. So that's another way that I use to remember the less than and greater than symbols. Okay, this is the second one, letter B for example 2. So why don't you pause the video and try this one out. Okay, so first, use a number line. It's pretty helpful. Plot -15 and -9 on your number line. So there's -15, there's -9. And again, numbers further to the right are greater. Numbers further to the left are smaller. Okay, so in this case, -9 is further to the right than -15. So -15 would be less than -9. Okay, I think on your sheet it says -15 is farther to the blank, so you'd put -15 is further to the left than -9. So -15 is still less than 9. Okay, this is correct. Okay. I don't think this one is on your sheet, but again, why don't you try it out? Pause it, see if you get it right. Okay, and for the ones that you have one positive number and one negative number, I think they're actually easier and you don't even have to plot them, because positive numbers are always going to be greater than negative numbers. You always want to have a positive bank account, right? You never want negative money. That means you owe somebody money. But again, if you were to plot them, you would see that positive 6 is further to the right. So, all right, sorry, I got cut off there by my time limit, but we ended with 6 is further to the right, then negative 6, so it is greater than. Okay, one more to try out here just to make sure we get it. Compare negative 4 and 11. All right, so start by making your number line and plot your 2 points, negative 4, negative 11. You'll see negative 11 is further to the left, so that has to be less than. Negative 4 is further to the right, that has to be greater than. Pac-Man eats the bigger number. Okay, so let's go to example 3 now, where we need to order these integers using a number line. Okay, sometimes they'll give you a number line, sometimes you have to make one. Just make sure it's big enough to fit all of your integers that they give you. Okay, so negative 3, 6, negative 5, 2, 0, and negative 8, we need to order them from the least to the greatest. Okay, least to greatest. Well, it's going to be beneficial for you to put them on a number line, because then it becomes a lot easier to see all of your numbers, and it just lines up left to right, least to greatest, pretty quick and easy. Okay, so numbers furthest to the left are the smallest, so we'll just start here. Negative 8, negative 5, negative 3, 0, 2, and lastly 6. Okay, if you were to just look at this list without putting it on a number line, that might get kind of tricky. Okay, in these types of problems, I might write a star next to my notes and say, make a number line. Okay, it's going to be helpful to you now, and I think on the test too, to make that number line, even if it's a little bit more cumbersome, it takes a little bit longer. Yeah, I get that, but it's definitely helpful to see it laid out like this. Okay, let's go to the check it out example 3. This one is not on your sheet, but I'd encourage you to pause the video and add it to the bottom of your sheet. Okay, it says use a number line to order the integers from least to greatest. Again, here's my number line, and just start plotting them. Negative 5 would be right here. Positive 4 right here. Negative 3, positive 2, negative 1, and negative 2. And now I can really easily see that numbers furthest to the left are smaller and numbers further to the right are my greatest. So if I were to order these from least to greatest, it'd be negative 5 is furthest to the left, and then it's negative 3, and then it's negative 2, negative 1, 2, and 4. Notice how when I write my positive numbers, I don't have to put positive 2. When you just see a number with no sign in front of it, we assume it's positive, so you don't have to write the positive. If it's negative, though, you definitely have to write it. There we go. Perfect, they got the same answer as I did. Okay, if you flip back to the front, there should be a spot for absolute value. And absolute value is pretty quick and easy, but the idea behind it is really important. It says a number's absolute value is its distance from 0 on a number line. Since distance can never be negative, absolute values are never negative. They are always positive or 0. Okay, that's important to know. Always, always, always going to be positive. I would star this. They are always positive. Okay. If you take a tape measure, for example, or a ruler, you will never see a negative number on there because you're measuring a distance, and distance is always positive. All right. You never see negative miles on a vehicle. They're only positive. Okay. That's really important to know. So it says use a number line to find each absolute value. The absolute value of 8. Okay, this is on back over on example 4 on the back side. Okay, and these bars right here, I think we'll talk about in just a minute, but these bars mean find the absolute value of that number. Okay, so I plot 8 on my number line, and remember, absolute value means how far away is 8 from 0? Well, it's 8 units, right? We say, well, Mr. Gillis, I'm going to the left. Shouldn't that be negative if I'm going to the left? No, remember, distance, you're measuring a distance here, is always positive. Okay, so 8 is 8 units from 0. So the absolute value of 8 is 8. This would be your final answer. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Here it is for you. The symbol, it looks like a couple of train tracks, is read the absolute value of. For example, the absolute value of -3. Okay, that's what that symbol means. All right, here's letter B right below, right next on your sheet. It says use a number line to find each absolute value. So the absolute value of -12 means how far from 12 or how far from 0 is 12. Okay. Again, if you had your number line and you plotted 12 on it, you'd see that -12 is 12 units away from 0. Okay, well, this is not, I'm not trying to trick you with this. You might think it's pretty easy. That's a good thing. Again, absolute value is just how far from 0. That's it. Okay. So this one would not be on your sheet, but pause and see if you get it right. Use a number line to find each absolute value. Absolute value of 3. Okay, here's 3. It is 1, 2, 3 away from 0. 3 is my answer. Okay. Same for this one. Absolute value of -9. Okay, here's -9 on my number line. How far from 0 am I at -9? Well, I am 9 units away, so the absolute value of -9 is 9. Notice how all my answers here are positive. Okay, absolute value answers are always positive. And that's all I've got for you today, guys. Hopefully you've learned something about integers here. Remember, integers are just the whole numbers plus their negatives. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those negatives. So it's -1, -2, -3. Okay, if ever you can't remember this, just look at the front of the board, and those counting numbers and their negatives are integers. Okay, that's all I've got for you. We will see you next time.